I found a bug.
What kind of a bug?
Terror. A worm. A spider. A ventilator. A termite.
Yeah.
This is only a taste. This is only a taste. This is only a taste.
This is only a taste.
This is only a taste. This is only a taste.
What is what would be like a worst crime that you ever committed?
Probably stealing nickels out of my mother's change jar to go play pinball.
So what was your punishment?
I don't really remember. It was not severe because I owned up to it, and Ma always said she'd rather have a thief than a liar in the house, and I could never lie to her.
This is KYW News 3 at 11.
Mores and their victim. The origin of mores may be found in two thoughts. Society is worth more than the individual, and enduring advantage is to be preferred to ephemeral advantage, from which it follows that the enduring advantage of society must be given precedence, unconditionally, over the advantage of the individual, especially over his momentary well-being, but also over his enduring advantage and even his continued existence. Whether the individual suffers from an institution that is good for the whole, whether it causes him to atrophy or perish, mores must be preserved, sacrifices must be made. But such an attitude originates only in those who are not its victims, for they claim in their behalf that the individual may be worth more than many, also that present enjoyment, the moment in paradise, may have to be valued higher than a pallid continuation of painless or complacent states. The philosophy of the sacrificial animal, however, is always sounded too late. And so we retain mores and morality, which is no more than the feeling for the whole quintessence of mores under which one lives and has been brought up. Brought up not as an individual, but as a member of a whole, as a digit of a majority. Thus it happens constantly that an individual brings to bear upon himself, by means of his morality, the tyranny of the majority.
Well, my name is Ed, and I moved into Northern Liberties back in March, and didn't have much problems with crime, although a bicycle was stolen from the backyard, which has a fence around it, and then my lawn chairs were stolen off the deck. So about a month ago, my friend John moved into the first floor. I'm on the second floor, and he put a small surveillance camera at his front door looking out into the entranceway. And yesterday, he decided to start videotaping what was on the camera. So we put the tape in the morning and started it recording. And he called me at the end of the day and said, "You'll never believe what happened. I got this amazing thing on videotape." Sure. Where is it now? Yeah, it just so happens that the music on it. Watch this.
And the music,
Watch. Watch this. And it's a man creeping up to the front door, trying to break in. and we think it has some connection with John's car being stolen. John had several sets of keys in his truck. They were old sets of keys, not for this house, fortunately. And this man on the tape is trying sets of keys in the doorway. But on the tape, we see him trying to put keys in the door, trying to open it, and he's looking around very suspicious. He's obviously a thief. And he also opens up a package belonging to our friend Paul, who lives on the 3rd floor. So he opens the package and rifles through it. And there's nothing valuable in it, so he didn't steal that. Then we have the man on tape walking to a car out in front of the house. And he breaks into the car. We can see his reflection in a side window. He breaks into the car and steals a coat out of the car, right on the videotape. He doesn't know he's being taped, obviously. And then he runs up the sidewalk with this jacket that he stole. Crime, but not punishment yet. I hope there's... I don't really care if there's punishment. I just don't want him to come back. So...
In Mexico City, Claudia Rodriguez, a 30-year-old mother of 5, shot and killed a man who tried to rape her. The judge denied her plea of self-defense, citing matters of conduct, saying that she was a married woman who was out on the street at 5 a.m. A few days later, in another incident, a man fatally shot a robber who tried to steal his watch. The police never charged him, saying that it was self-defense.
What do you think is the worst part?
That affects me personally, what I'm afraid of most? I'd have to say a sexual crime. That's probably my biggest fear. I mean, getting mugged, I can part with some cash. That's not really what scares me so much. Being violated, attacked, even just violently, not even necessarily sexually.
We have never been the direct victim of a crime. We've been the indirect victim of a car break-in. Actually very interesting because there was, all the stuff was taken out of the glove compartment, but somebody had left their initials.
Really?
As though sort of a signature, like the mark of Zorro, or you know. So whoever did it was quite proud of their work, and we went through trouble getting new licenses and everything. And a few weeks later, in the mail, came all the stuff that was taken from our glove compartment.
Really?
So, yeah. So the person was proud of their work, but also returned all the stuff. Of course, we had a couple $1,000s worth of damage to the car as they tried to take the radio out unsuccessful, but interesting experience.
We just came out here, we just spreading our culture, you know, just getting live, just giving the people out here, you know, an aspect of where we came from, how we try to shine, you know what I'm saying? How we're artists, and like how it's illegal, but no matter how illegal, how much they make it illegal, it's still our thing, you know. It'll last. It's 30 years strong. It'll last, it'll just get better, you know. I plug in something, you know, everybody plugs in something, a cipher, we call it, you know, a little message. You know, because we're artists, you know what I'm saying, like video or music, someone wants to express themselves, we do it for power, you know what I'm saying, we do it for intelligence, you know. That's how we move. We accept, you know, us for what we are. Society don't accept us, we don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying, we do what we gotta do, you know. America.
One politician.
Clifford Lynch.
Consumed by love for his country.
It's incredible, really. It's incredible what we've built.
And determined to cleanse America of the crime and degeneracy polluting it.
My neighborhood's a sewer.
A man ready to get involved. Ready to seek out the problems at their sources.
Smell this? No, here. You smell this? Smell this in here. No. Urban refuse. That's a smell of urban filth.
And with the courage to fight those problems by whatever means necessary.
What I'm proposing is like public stonings. Muggers, rapists, burglars. And everyone should have the opportunity to toss a rock at these alleged criminals.
What do you think about his methods? You know, stuff's been around for a long time and it's worked before. Hammurabi's code, you know, an eye for an eye. If you go and poke somebody's eye out, and I saw that happen to a guy, to get his eye poked out really, but got fucked up pretty bad.
The ritual punishment is, I mean, it's something that's totally lost in this country.
And smearing people in excrement and throwing rocks at them.
I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, I say fight fire with fire. And in the Bible, I think if you're familiar at all with the good book, God says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And I say get the criminals up there in a public place where everyone can see them and let everybody throw rocks at him. Big rocks, heavy rocks.
And ready with open arms for the new Americans who love their country.
People come from all over the world. And that's fine.
Vote for the future of America. Vote for change. Vote Clifford Lynch.
Judge Albert Sabo has sentenced 31 men to death during his quarter-century on the bench, probably more than any other American jurist. He also sentenced Mumia Abu Jamal.
Szabo has said he learned a lot from the Mumia case. He learned not to take things personally. He said, "I sentence them and then I forget about them." The untransacted destiny of the American people is to subdue the continent, to rush over this vast field to the Pacific Ocean, to animate the many hundred millions of its people and cheer them upward, to establish a new order in human affairs, to regenerate superannuated nations, to change darkness into light, to teach old nations a new civilization, to confirm the destiny of the human race, to carry the career of mankind to its culminating point, to cause stagnant people to be reborn, to perfect science, to unite the world in a social family, to absolve the curse that weighs down humanity, and to shed blessings around the world.
The creation of what is now called the United States was accomplished by systematic extermination of the indigenous people of the American continent. Justification for this process was generally framed as manifest destiny, the belief that history and God chose a white, Christian, and capitalist nation to rule over lands and peoples both dark and pagan. The term manifest destiny was coined on 27 December 1845 by New York newspaper editor John L. Sullivan. Indians were seen as barbaric, savage, childlike, and superstitious, not capable of governing themselves, and were in general inferior to whites. White superiority was believed to be divinely ordained, and this justified American expansion. As America stretched westward, it found indigenous people in its way. What was to happen to them? The Americans were a rising people. By contrast, the Indian was necessarily a no account, a troublemaker, a problem standing in the way. Indians had to be conquered and either moved or wiped out. This was good and necessary. This attitude was not encountered occasionally and by chance as a solution to a specific cowboy or Indian problem here or there. Rather, it was the carefully formulated official policy of the U.S. government regarding Native Americans. According to the doctrine of manifest destiny, white Americans must fulfill their manifest destiny allotted by Providence to develop and rule the breadth of the continent. All actions to remove obstacles that stood in their way were therefore morally righteous, including the dispossession and slaughter of Indians.
From Baghdad, we'll be back to Peter momentarily.
When Dostoevsky wrote Crime and Punishment, He was in such a bad financial situation that he was forced to sell his publishing rights to a man named Stilovsky, a businessman who had no appreciation of literature. In the contract was a clause which stated that if Dostoevsky didn't write a new novel within a certain short period of time, Stilovsky would have the rights to publish everything Dostoevsky had written and would write for the next 10 years, without ever having to pay him. Dostoevsky was so desperate that he signed anyway. He wrote 2 novels at the same time, Crime and Punishment in the morning, The Gambler in the evening. He beat Stilovsky's deadline and married the stenographer he had hired to help him out.
He was a combination of, I would say he's a combination of Belmondo and Krishna. That he was simply fascinating.
The complicated Eastern mind has found a worthy practitioner in the man nicknamed the Serpent. Hunted by Interpol on 3 continents, police say he is a diabolical psychopath, master of disguise, a brilliant escape artist, and above all, a cold-blooded killer, blamed for leaving a gruesome trail of corpses, allegedly murdering up to 20 people in just 3 months. He specialized in young, trusting tourists from Europe and America. They were found poisoned, stabbed, strangled, shot, and sometimes burned alive. Your son, Buzz Paddington, was one of Charles Sobrage's American tourist victims. You see, this woman can't even talk, but if she could, she would say, Charles Sobrage must be brought to justice. Did you kill those people or not? Did you feel pleasure? I mean, those dead bodies, your hands around their white throats, bosoms heaving, limbs flailing, breath leaving their body? Look, people, there's no remorse. We pick up a trail in 1975 in Thailand, a mecca for hordes of young travelers on a journey to seek and discover. Since we could not go to Thailand, we found a similar location here in the U.S. After all those Oriental people look just the same and live the same.
For a lot of young people, Asia was sort of a rite passage, sort of a breaking out of their own suburbia.
British author John MacDonald wrote The Life and Crimes of Charles Sobrage, and years ago he was himself a traveler on the so-called hippie trail.
It was our playland. Thai go-go boys, drinking all hours of the evening. And Charles.
You met Charles in Thailand.
I did.
What was he like?
Oh. Charles's best gift was his friendship. He was riveting.
And many were attracted by Sobrage's magnetic personality and exotic good looks. Half Vietnamese and half Indian, beguiling his victims in up to 8 languages, conning his victims into believing he was a suave and successful gem dealer with a pretty Canadian girlfriend. And so what you would do is pick a person or a couple and befriend them?
That's correct.
And then drug them.
That's correct.
And then you would take any valuables, their passports, anything they might own.
That's correct.
How many times do you think you did that?
I forget. I did it so many times.
You forgot.
Then I can't tell you how many times I did it.
15?
Yeah, I never thought about it.
20? 120?
Maybe 100.
Maybe 1 or 2 would have gone unnoticed, but when it is 100 or more, things have a very bad effect upon the economy. After all, it is only tourism that saves these underdeveloped countries.
This is very bad for business. Evil man, such an evil man. We love our guests. We love our Buddhas. We love tourists. Come, come.
To comment on these facts is Dr. Bernard Saperstein.
I think it's inevitable that the whole tradition of serial killing, which is Western primarily, is going to be like every other cultural export, is going to be basically sold to the developing world. So I see serial murder as the new trend in cultural colonialism. I think we're going to see far more Silence of the Lambs situations in India and other parts of the developing world.
In fact, if it had not been for this woman, Wantinda Chandaparukin, he might not have ever been stopped at all. A neighbor of Sobraj's, she suspected that something was very wrong.
He showed me all these passports, you know. He said, he killed this one, this French girl, that American girl, just kill, kill, kill. I knew it was not right.
Chandrapukin alerted the authorities, and Sobraj was picked up and questioned by the Thai police. Desperate, he came up with an audacious plan that would prove to be his undoing.
I met Charles at the hotel. One of the most charismatic people I've met outside of France. So he gave us these pills. We came back very festive from dinner. I turned to my girlfriend to say something I don't even remember what, and she falls to the ground. And before I know it, several of the other students are falling. People are collapsing, fainting on top of each other, and I think, my God, what have we eaten?
You were convicted of having poisoned an entire busload of tourists from France. 20 people became violently ill.
I think a little bit more than 20.
His mistake, he now says, was overconfidence.
You see, when they started, I should have walked out with the other French. Then I would have been okay.
Bad judgment?
Of course! Everyone does it!
Charles was sent to India's toughest prison, where he bribed his way into a privileged type of incarceration. Over the years, Sir Charles, as his jailers called him, had the run of the place.
I say to myself, if I want to get out of that situation, so I have to control the environment.
Sobraj escaped from the Tihar prison. The cunning killer threw a birthday party for himself. Surreptitiously, Sir Charles injected sleeping pills into the grapes, knocking out all of the guests except for himself and 4 other inmates, who proceeded to waltz out of the front gate into the New Delhi streets.
I think that's absolutely typical of this particular person's behavior, the idea that you transform everything into kind of play, the idea that you take something as sober as a jailbreak and you have fun with it. That's absolutely typical of somebody with this background.
Are you a dangerous man?
I don't think so.
Are you crazy?
It's up to you to say, not me.
Is he crazy? From what we know in his early life in true serial killing fashion, Sobraj was a persistent bedwetter in his youth at a boarding school in Paris.
I've seen many cases where people of mixed race find themselves belonging to neither one country nor another. It's inevitable that somebody like that is going to feel conflicted, is going to feel compromised, because typically one resents the mother highly in situations like that, and is often going to take those conflicts out on society at large.
A free man in France, Charles Sobraj has proven to be quite a ruthless businessman. Journalists will pay up to £5,000 just to have coffee with him, and he's netted several $1 million for film and book deals. As his agents are quick to point out, wherever people are offering money, people are taking it. It's the name of the game. No money, no meeting. Who says crime doesn't pay? This is Sybil Babicelli for News That Never Ends.
boys on the beach with their happy feels off their happy bodies with a happy ozone that's blown away. Happy melanomas on my flesh like big brown blobs, yeah. That gets all okay. It's a happy song. Happy vacationers in a happy jetliner as a happy bomb blows a hole through the happy protection compartment. 78 happy seconds of terror as the plane makes an unscheduled arrival in the happy waters of the Pacific. I guess it's still a happy song. Happy arm animals, a happy farmyard being pumped full of happy sunshine and happy chemicals, antibiotics and pesticides and herbicides, and the happy human food chain hopelessly forever polluted, resulting in monstrosities and deformities among our nation's children. I wish these things weren't happening anyway.